everyone, welcome to the Target Prelim series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today's session is about arts and culture. So I'm hoping that you are liking the previous session of arts and culture. So moving towards the first topic of today's session. The first topic is Ram Mandir, which is the Ram Temple, and this is widely discussed in media because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has inaugurated this particular temple and it was inaugurated on 22nd January. And why this particular topic is into the discussion, because a long battle between Hindu and Muslim community, and after the battle of 27 years, the Hindu finally won this battle and Supreme Court had declared a verdict, and in that verdict, Ayodhya land has been given to Hindu community for the construction of Ram Mandir. On the other hand, the 5-acre land has been given to the Muslim community for the construction of the Babri Masjid. So this was the solution which has been derived by the Supreme Court, and after this thing, the particular mandir has been made, and that's why this topic is into the discussion, and the media has also widely discussed and covered this topic. So Ram Temple is designed in the Nagraj style of temple architecture, and August 5, 2020, the Supreme Court has a trust has been made on the recommendation of Supreme Court that there should be a trust, and the trust will look care of all these matter, especially the construction thing. And this is the picture of newly built Ram Mandir, and here you can see that it is made in the Nagraj style. There is a platform. This is the platform, and onto this platform this particular temple has been made. This is called the Shikharak. This is the Amalak. So these are the features of the Nagraj style architecture. Coming to the next one. So what is the Nagraj style? So Nagraj style is a temple architecture emerged into the late Gupta period in the 5th century AD, and it is compared with the Dravidian style. So generally it is perceived that Dravidian style is present in the southern part of the country, whereas the Nagraj style is prevalent in the northern part of the country, whereas the Viceroy style is common to both parts of the country. And temples built in Nagraj style are built on the high platform. I had already shown it into the picture, which house the sanctum sanctorum, which is the resting place of the particular deity. Here it is the Ramlala, and which is the most sacred place to the temple. And the sanctum is topped by a shikhar, literally means mountain's peak, and which is the most distinctive aspect of the Nagraj style temples. And shikhar, as the name suggests, it also represents the natural and cosmological order. And here it is a what you can say diagram of a Nagraj style temple. It is not a diagram of particularly Ram temple, but generally these are the features of the Nagraj style temple. So this is the Amalak, this is the Mandapam, this is the plinth, then here the idol, it is the Garbhagriha. The whole area is known as the Garbhagriha, and it is the most sacred place. This is the Shikhar, axis. So these are the features of the Nagraj style temple architecture. Coming to the next one. Next one is about Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace. And recently Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace has been organized, and this is the 12th General Assembly which has been held in New Delhi. And what are the highlights of the 12th Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace? So the first thing is the theme. And what is the theme? The theme is the Buddhist voice for the global south. And as you already know that recently this global south term is in vogue, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also used this particular thing. And the Mahasabha portrayed India as the nation guided by the principle of Buddha, because it is assumed that in Buddha is India is a karma bhumi of Buddha, and Buddha attained salvation. Buddha has Mahaparinirvan. So everything is done in Indian territory. So that's why Buddha belongs to India. And the depiction of Lord Buddha has been given prominence in the artwork of Indian Constitution, particularly in part 5 of the Indian Constitution. And here we can see the picture of the part 5. Here it is the Lord Buddha, and the part 5 which tells about the union. Then we come to the another one, which is what is Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace? So it got established in 1970, and it was founded by a voluntary movement of followers of Buddhism, those who live in monastics also, and those who perform Buddhism and practice Buddhism in their daily lives at Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. So it got established in Mongolia, and Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia is the headquarter of this Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace, and it is a collaborative effort of Buddhist dignitaries from India, Mongolia, Japan, Malaysia, Nepal, USSR, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, South and North Korea. Why these countries are prominent? Because in these countries the Buddhism is very much prevalent here, and as I have already told you that Gandethe Chaling Monastery in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia is the headquarter, and the supreme head of the Mongolian Buddhist is the current president of the ABCP. So coming to the next one is about Sri Sri Aunita Satra. And Sri Sri Aunitya Satra is a more than 350-year-old Vaishnav monastery in the Majuli district of Assam, and it got established in the year 1653 at Majuli, Assam, and it is the oldest breweries in the region, and it has an institutional center of Assamese Vaishnavism, and it is located in Majuli, which is the largest river island in the world, largest inhabited river island in the world, and it is also located on the Brahmaputra river in the northeastern Indian state of the Assam. So here we have got description about the Sri Sri Aunitya Satra and also about the Majuli island. Then we come to the picture. So this is a picture of that particular monastery, and this monastery belongs to the Vaishnavism cult. Then we come to the next slide. Next slide is about Kalari Payattu. And why Kalari Payattu is in the discussion? Because recently in youth of Haryana achieved the second place in Kerala in Khelo India Youth Games 2023, showing significant progress in adopting Kalariya Pattu. So here it also shows the amalgamation of the two sports culture. And what is Kalariya Pattu? So Kalariya Pattu is a martial art, and it literally means the battlefield or gymnasium, and it is an Indian martial art that originated in the Kerala during the 3rd century BC to 2nd century BC. So it is an ancient art, and it is now prevalent in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and it is considered as one of the oldest and most skilled martial arts in the world. So this is very much important point. And Kalariya Pattu is a system of individual combat training consisting of exercises designed with the aim of developing quick reflexes for unarmed combat and achieving efficient mastery over various weapons. So this is in simple terms, you have to understand that this is an ancient martial art, and it belongs to the Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and currently the youths all over the world are also mastering over this Kalari Pattu, and different kind of weapons are also used, dagger, sticks, and sometimes without it also. This is the picture of Kalari Pattu. Two people are playing the Kalari Pattu. Then we come to the next one. Next one is about ancient Subika painting. And why this particular ancient Subika painting is in news? Because this is on the verge of extinction. So in order to revive it, it's very much important to discuss about the Subika painting. And Subika painting belongs to a Meitei community of the Manipur. Recently, Meitei, Kuki, Zomi community are in the news because of the lots of controversy which is still happening in Manipur. So it's very important to also discuss about the culture and art associated with these particular communities. So Subika painting, and Subika manuscript has a different kind of surviving thing. So there are 6 surviving manuscript: Pani, Subika, Subika Achuba, Subika Laishaba, Subika Chaudit, Subika Chethil, and Thenenganchil exists through the Subika. So this is the cultural history of the Meitei community. And here it is the picture of the Subika. It is made on the handmade paper and also on a tree bark which is produced locally. So kindly see the picture because it helps you in memorizing the facts about the Subika painting. So this is the picture. Then we come to the another one, which is Battle of Bulbul and Buffalo in Assam. So recently a petition filed by the PETA, which is People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, regarding the rights of the bulbul and buffalo, which is these kind of fights are happening in Assam, and it happens in a traditional festival which is also known as a Magh Bihu, which is a harvest festival of the Assam. So the PETA has made concern over it that the animal rights and animal cruelty is done into this area. On the other hand, the people of Assam and the community, those who are associated with this fight, are saying that this is their culture and there is no harm for these community and these animals. So this is a controversy between the PETA and the people associated between these kind of the cultural programs. So we'll see in the future that who wins into this situation, and such kind of controversy also happens in the during the Jallikattu and Kamla race. So let's see what the court has given the verdict about this thing, and this is the picture. So you can see the picture. And that's it for today's class. I hope you like this class. If you have any queries related to this session, kindly ask in the comment section and keep practicing for your examination. All the best for your prelims. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.